Good morning, Winterview back again with another brief dialogue of his dear friend Annastacey. Once again, driving along Winterview, the travelling mystic. His reputation stretches far and wide in his imagination. This dialogue today is on stress and relaxation. I'm sure it somehow must relate to non-duality. Somehow. One of the common mythologies surrounding the so-called enlightened state is that there will be a subsequent relaxing of the body and mind. A deep peace will suffuse, good word, your very being, your essence. Let's have a little looky-poo at this and see what to make of it. Is there any truth to this? Or what might be the truth behind it? We first turn our attention in this brief dialogue to the phenomenon of reading. That is, reading for pleasure, not academic or work-related. The subject of reading, and in particular reading before bed, and more particularly when you're a little bit tired. This is one of life's great pleasures for those of you listening who enjoy reading and don't have dyslexia or some reading disorder, in which case it's a pain in the bum. The reader sitting in bed, relaxing after a busy day, starts to notice changes that seem to overcome their state, we'll say, or being. That is, the mind, first of all, starts to quieten down, starts to ease up on the narrative of how awful the day's been, or how awful your life is, etc. In some ways, the focus of the book that you're reading, or the Kindle these days, takes your mind off the narrative of self, that personal story that runs day in, day out for years and years and years, and absorbs into the book. And in this moment, or in this place of reading quietly late at night, the body starts to relax, and soon enough, at least in my case, the eyes start to become heavy. Sleep is coming. Or is it? Could it be that the way we phrase this is a little bit back to front? Or could it be that you could phrase it both ways and it doesn't matter? What is happening, in one sense, is that the story of me, distracted momentarily by the book, and now, with fatigue being allowed to creep in, so to speak, the story starts to drop away, to be replaced, not with something that was never there, something that you've now cultivated, but the ever-present underlying stillness, you might say, that is always there, the ever-present stillness, which is peace itself, is revealed. As the chatter of the mind quietens, as the body becomes heavier and the processes, the physiology starts to shut down in readiness for slumber, that wonderful, delicious essence of your being is suffused. I got to use the word again. Through your very being, your essence. The sense of a body, as well, starts to fall away. The story gone. There's no story. There's not a better story running. You don't have the mind going, wow, I'm really relaxing. I'm falling asleep. This is great. No more story running. I can't wait. None of that. It's the absence of story, the absence of stimulation, you could say, the absence of the world, even, in some way reveals that underlying peace, that tranquility that is always there. That's why I'm focusing on this particular event, the book before bed. It's a nice little parable. God knows I love my parables, hey. So this reveals something quite interesting. You might say to a friend in everyday ordinary conversation, I was very relaxed. I was relaxing. But you could have equally said that the story that fills my head, that runs the machine, that is told day in, day out, started to break down. It's an effort of sorts, not that that's realized, but it is an effort of sorts to run the narrative. My name is, I live here, I do this, people expect me to, my role in society is, this is what I believe about the world, this is what's going to happen to me in the future, this is what's happened to me in the past, this is what's happening to me right now, no, and on and on. The key being me in the center. And so this end of day relaxation thing that seems to happen represents the ending of me, the me falling away. And what do we notice straight away? What's obvious? As the me sense, or the importance even of me, falls away, relaxation appears. It appears. And that suggests something about the narrative itself that runs day in, day out. When I say the narrative, there's a whole lot going on, more than just simply thoughts in your head. There is a core, we'll call it contraction of self, that is somehow physiological and mental and emotional, all in one glue that binds it all together. So it's not just the fact that thoughts are popping in and out. So those of you listening who think all I need to do is get rid of my thoughts and I'll be hunky-dory, it's a good thought, it's a good idea. Not quite there. Not quite there. So the sense of relaxation that appears out of the background, you could even say, as the foreground diminishes, is the one and same relaxation that is reported very commonly, but not always, very commonly by that which reports enlightenment / liberation. Notice I didn't say people, in case the enlightenment police are listening. Pounce on that. Let's just say it anyway, the person who reports enlightenment, the loss of self, note the paradox, but will say, wow, and I really chilled out, I really relaxed. They're not really saying the I really relaxed. They're really saying, thank God that's over. That awful, ridiculous story that was running for years, that the story really isn't the concern at the end of the day. It's the fact that it's your story. You're the problem, so to speak. You're the central character to whom it's all happening, and to whom it will happen, and to whom it has happened, etc. That ever-present me that sits there is the should we say it? Shall I say it? Okay. Root cause of the stress and tension. Not really into saying root cause, but there we go. I just said it. The person, therefore, if we come back to the day-to-day for the individual, is a state of tension. The person is full of, let's say, concern. What's going to happen around the corner? Concern, we'll say, is a future orientation. What's going to happen tomorrow? What will become of me? Will my relationship last? Will my job still be there? Will my money still be in the bank? Will my health hold out? Will this strange spot on my skin turn out to be cancer? Will my friends still like me when they find out my dirty secret? Will my... where are we? Will I reach enlightenment? Will I be forgiven by God for my sins, and so on and so forth. Then there's the regrets. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I marry so-and-so? Why did I get that job? Why did I go to university for 10 years and study Lithuanian basket weaving? Why? Why did I invest in that pyramid scheme that looked so attractive, with the guy who had the capped teeth and the gold bangle, who seemed very successful? Why did I move towns to get away from it all, only to end up in a swamp, etc., etc.? It's not the story itself. The story itself could be quite funny, could be quite endearing. Even the mistakes could be seen as funny and silly, except they're not, and that's because it's the person, the glue that holds them all together, is seen as some kind of fool for making bad decisions, or a potential fool for not making the right decisions for the future. That push-pull, you might even say, future-past tension is born physically, born in the body. The body also, let's not forget, is a big player, a key player in this scenario. If I exist, then surely I must exist as the body or in the body. And therefore the body is recruited to play its role in the nervous tension of self. I hope that I make a really good decision with this investment. Body, what I'd like you to do is hold a nervous tension in the throat and chest and stomach and churn it all around in readiness for the judgment on my decision about this investment in the future. And if it turns out to be successful, body, what I'd like you to do is flood the system with feel-good endorphins, but not for too long, maybe for a few minutes, and then go back to relaxing. And what I'd like you to do, body, is I'd like you to keep thinking about that awful event, that awful thing that I did years ago that I really regret. I'd like you to keep recycling that tension in the stomach, that nervous, woe is me, why did I do that, feeling in the stomach. That's what I need you to do, body. And why do I do that? Why would the body get on board with this whole fool's errand at the start? Because the body is recruited by the mind's idea that this is in some way beneficial for your survival. These are core survival this is core survival information for the body. That's why it's stored, that's why it's held, that's why it's remembered. And when I say survival, I mean across the board. I mean really across the board, like not just food and water and air survival, but social survival, surviving in your town, your city, your context survival. Surviving in a family system, surviving across all systems and contexts. The idea that one must put in endeavour in order to survive, that is the basis for holding all this information. So there's the sort of the core of it, if you like. Survival, it's perceived as survival data for me. So me can have a better life, me can get things that it wants, me can get things that it thinks it needs, and let's not even go down that huge, vast shopping list of the things that me thinks it needs and wants. So you could say at the back of the mind there is this giant shopping list of things that I think and want. And in clinical work, in a certain clinical population that I work with, I won't mention the particular disorder in case it's perceived in the wrong light, but there is a particular disorder, mental health disorder, that predisposes individuals to fixate on things that it thinks it needs, the individual thinks it needs. And some of them can be, normal stuff like food, water, jobs, but some of them can be peculiar, like things that have no basis for survival and things that others aren't particularly interested in either. But that individual fixates so entirely on this thing that it thinks it needs, that everything else falls in comparison. This person becomes completely non-functional until they get this thing that they think they need. They go into a deep, deep depression and can become suicidal until they get this thing they think they need. And no matter how many friends, family, parents, educators, clinicians, physicians, doctors, etc. tell them, don't worry, it's silly, don't worry, you don't need it, it won't be heard. And then on the day that they get it, this is the typical pattern, very, very happy, excited, ecstatic, and then the next day it's forgotten about, and it's the next thing. And that pattern is awful, awfully debilitating, and very frustrating for friends and family who have to sort of modify their lives as well. So this is all a symptom of the me, you might say, pathologizing the me, that thinks it needs certain things. So all that data is stored somewhere for survival. This is what I need to do for survival. But not really. What it is survival of the me, or the happiness of the me, the I. And it's all a bit mad, because there is, at the end of the day, no I, no me at all. So it's a rather double-binding awfulness, you could say. A sort of, madness, it seems, on the face of it. So that is the sort of story of relaxation and tension, or relaxation and stress, right there. That's why in liberation, when it's realized, which the core realization is this absence of self, anything else that's realized is a bonus, in my opinion. But the core realization that there is no self, it's not that the story that has been running stops. Indeed, it's possible, but it's not necessarily that. It's that because there's now no central character, me or I, etc., who's gauging or judging or filtering this versus that, the survival information that was extraneous or useless falls away. And that is the thing that is perceived as the relief, the relaxation. And often you'll hear individuals who think they're seeking enlightenment decide that what they're going to do is relax, like really, really relax themselves, and that will somehow trigger enlightenment. But although it's a good idea, it's a little bit naive, because it's not the relaxation that's important. Although it's a nice thing, and let's not knock it at the end of the day, it's good to be relaxed, from a health perspective. But it's that person, that central self, is the binder, the key binder of that battle, you might say, that tension, that veils, shall I say the word veils? I don't like using that word. Let's say it anyway, I'm a rebel. Veils the relaxation. Anyway, I've got to stop talking now, because I'm almost at my destination. And I can't think of much more to say on the matter. So once again, I appreciate you listening, and as usual, your comments are welcome.